Please like and subscribe.
After the fight, Fang Cheng began to look at his demon slayer form. A voice in his head said that his desire to kill was gone and his human form was restored. The demon slayer's form began to disappear. Fang Cheng concluded that when he wasn't thinking about the battle, his human form would return, but at the same time it could come out sideways at times when he couldn't control his emotions. After that, he decided to get away from the scene as soon as possible, as the situation had raised a lot of noise, which would surely attract the attention of the hunters who might arrive here any minute now. So he ran away to the suburbs of Donald City. It was a rather poor neighborhood, the buildings were old and small, and people who could not afford more lived in them. This is where Fang Cheng and his sister lived. Fang Cheng entered his apartment. A beautiful girl with long black hair, who was his sister, she asked him why he was so late, but when she saw his torn clothes, she worriedly asking what had happened to him. Fang Cheng smiled and replied that she did not need to worry because he was fine. His sister told him to be careful, and reminding him that their parent were killed by demons, when they were coming home after work. And Fang Cheng also says, "Yes, I know. But there is no need for you to take tension." Said he would be more careful, adding that she shouldn't worry. Blinking away a tear that appeared in her eyes from the memories of her dead parents, the girl turned around and said, "Let's not talk about these sad things anymore, as nothing can be brought back. I've made you dinner, so you can change your clothes and go eat." Fang Cheng went to the bathroom, which, like the building itself, was as old as the washing machine, but despite that, everything was clean, and in its place, coming out of the bathroom, drying himself with a towel, he noticed a plate of food on the table, which gave off a pleasant odor. Sitting down at the table, Fang Cheng explained joyfully that it was his favorite beef. While eating his favorite ramen prepared by his sister, Fang Cheng asked her what she had for dinner, to which she hesitantly replied, as if Fang Cheng had caught her in the act, that she had eaten something at the store where she worked. Fang Cheng replied in a firm voice, loudly tapping his chopsticks on the table that she had always done, bringing him all the delicious food while not thinking about herself. Then he added that he didn't want her to bring him the most delicious food while not taking care of herself. She replied that she couldn't do it, because he was her only family. Fang Cheng put aside his chopsticks with a firm voice. From now on, he will earn money, adding that he is an adult and can no longer watch her earn money alone. These words took the girl by surprise, but seeing her brother's determination, she couldn't ignore them and show that she didn't trust him. She warmly replied with a smile that he could do it, adding that she believed in him after seeing his sister's sincere support. Fang Cheng couldn't help but smile and thank her, and then she told him to continue eating until the food cooled down. While she went about her business, as she started cleaning the kitchen, she noticed that her brother seemed more mature and responsible than before. She thought, hopefully, that she hoped he could become a skilled hunter. And find himself in the world. Looking at the screen of his phone, Fang Cheng thought about the fact that tomorrow would be a day off, which meant that he would have time to hunt demons, which would allow him to earn money since now, one could find information on demons, their species, classes, ranks, habits. Going to the official website of the hunters, he found a list of wanted demons as well as demons whose locations were known so that hunters wishing to earn money could try their hand. The distribution was by rank, for which they paid the appropriate reward, but Fang Cheng continued to worry that the demon slayer form might be a time bomb, as it was constantly trying to control his mind like a parasite, which was a big risk as it could take over his body at the most inopportune moment, and there was no telling if he would be able to get it back. But Fang Cheng didn't care about that as he was already one step away from death, and the most important thing for him now was to earn money and support his family as he had the strength to do so. Now, at the scene of the demon's murder, a few hours after the incident, it was pouring rain, and the military had cordoned off the area to investigate in the midst of the debris, as well as the forensics team, who were looking for some traces in the debris. Holding an umbrella in his hand stood a man with long white hair who was observing the situation. After that, he asked the subordinate who approached him whether they had checked the neighbor's surveillance cameras. The guy with glasses answered that as soon as the demon blade appeared, the camera in the neighborhood stopped working, but the most interesting thing was that the creature that had disarmed the cameras had left no trace, so they had no clues to move on. Upon hearing the answer, the white-haired investigator, who also had a patch over his right eye, said in an irritated voice to keep looking for witnesses and evidence, adding that they had to find who had killed Blade's demon at any cost. The Glass Cloud subordinate replied depressingly that he would do so and then headed over to the forensics team to give the order. Left standing alone, the white-haired investigator pondered to himself that an ordinary hunter was unable to break the blade of a D-class demon. That could only mean one thing: there was another party involved, who was most likely also a demon. The next morning, somewhere in the ruined area, Fang Cheng continued walking, not noticing that he was being watched by the creatures, trying not to give away their presence as he continued walking. Fang Cheng suddenly came across several corpses that appeared to be hunters. They had died not too long ago, which could mean that the demons who did this were still here. Fang Cheng continued to look at the corpses, also noting that there were hollow wounds in the chest cavity. At the same time, the octopus demons kept getting closer, hiding behind the rocks, but luckily, Fang Cheng's heightened senses were also transferred to him, which helped him detect the scent of the demon aura, causing him to turn around and look at the scene behind him. The situation behind him was not very rosy, judging from the uniforms and holes in their chests, former office workers and hunters who had been killed by the octopus demons. They clearly showed their intentions, namely to fight because Fang Cheng had entered their territory. They would not let them go, but Fang Cheng was not frightened at all by the demons' formidable appearance. The octopus demons were E-class demons that were quite difficult to fight. The three octopus demons rushed towards Fang Cheng, who continued to stand still, which they decided to take advantage of by unleashing their weapons and aiming them at the guy who seemed defenseless, but despite their efforts and self-belief, their attacks failed to reach their target. Fang Cheng deftly dodged, jumping into the air. He then jumped back to a safe distance as he continued to watch the octopus demons. Fang Cheng noted to himself that after the fusion, even his human form had undergone a physical change, becoming stronger, but that wasn't the only change, as he could also control the demon aura, which he did as he gathered the blood-colored aura flames on his hand, preparing to attack and anticipating victory. The demon octopuses had already recovered and, annoyed by their past blender, were rushing at Fang Cheng with anger. To Fang Cheng's surprise, a voice sounded in his head, informing him that the enemy's attack had been detected, which automatically activated his hand sword ability. The next moment, two blood-red swords appeared from the guy's hands, which was the ability of the demon he had defeated. One of the octopus demons had already gotten close to him and was already swinging at him, but Fang Cheng dodged and struck the demon in the stomach with his hand sword, allowing him to use them without health problems. Having easily defeated the first demon that attacked, Fang Cheng saw the other two already rushing towards him, leaping into the air with the intention of attacking from above, but this was not a problem as in an instant he delivered a series of blows with his hand swords, easily finishing off both demons. Fang Cheng regretfully noted that he couldn't get any abilities from these monsters, but for the money he would get for killing them, suddenly a rather terrifying feeling visited him. Turning around, he saw the octopus demons. There were many more in front of Fang Cheng, over several dozen of the same monsters that he had just fought. This was an ambush that Fang Cheng realized quite late, and those three octopus demons were just bait to lure him into a real trap, but it was too late to retreat since the octopuses that seemed endless due to their sheer number had already rushed towards him, and they didn't act alone but attacked all together as if following a tactic, but even that didn't help against Fang Cheng, armed with two hand swords, who was able to slice through the first wave of attacking monsters with a series of attacks. The skill and training at the academy that he performed every day to awaken his abilities were making a difference and were a great addition to his improved fitness, but as expected, the first wave was not the end of it, and even after seeing the death of their kin, the demons did not stop attacking the guy who continued to block the attacks and immediately counterattack. At some point, the octopus was completely surrounded, continuing to advance and press the numbers. Fang Cheng did not stop destroying them. It felt like he had entered the nest of these demons. He continued to attack the octopus demons. Further, he felt that if he didn't transform into a demon slayer form, even these E-class monsters could defeat him. After escaping from the encirclement, Fang Cheng began to run away from the huge crowd of demons, but his retreat was quickly ended when an octopus tentacle appeared from the ground and grabbed his leg, preventing him from moving. This was not a good turn of events. The demon's tentacles had a firm grip on his legs, not giving him a chance to move. The owner of these tentacles appeared in front of Fang Cheng. It was a D-class demon, the wise. Octopus possessed a huge body that was several times larger than that of an ordinary human. The demon began to mock the guy who had so easily fallen into his trap, calling him a shrimp that couldn't even fit between his teeth. The next moment, Fang Cheng found himself surrounded by countless octopuses that wanted to eat him. The guy realized that if he didn't do anything, he would be eaten alive right now, which was not a rosy prospect at all. His eyes poured blood, becoming red, and his head began to sound a creepy voice that kept repeating the same phrase, "Kill the enemies." In the middle of the crowd of octopuses, behind which Fang Cheng could not be seen, a red light began to glow, which only continued to grow as if intending to explode. The next moment, the explosion actually happened, destroying the octopus demons that were surrounding Fang Cheng. He stood in the midst of all this chaos in his demon slayer form, annoyed that he had to use this form, shouting that they should also feel like they were being killed.